Hello and welcome back with me, Admiral, joining me back on Star Trek Fleet Command as always. Thank you to all the new subscribers once again. Don't forget to keep supporting the channel and we can progress faster and faster. Moving on to this episode, what we're going to talk about is going to be PvP, how to set up for PvP, how to sort of take it when it comes to obviously territory capture and all the different things like that. So what we're going to go through in this video is going to be one setup you can use, how to run it, how to do it. It's going to be a very generic setup, I would say. Well, I'm going to run through this setup and another setup you can run for a different type of ship. I wouldn't run it on this specific ship, and I'll obviously explain why. But basically what you want to do, for example, I have the Saladin here. I've got a Gorkon in the middle due to obviously his abilities, and we've paired him up with Kayla, and obviously we put Con in there. Excuse me. Everyone knows this setup. And then the bottom ones, essentially what you want to aim for is you want to aim for as much attack as possible. And personally, I would go for as much health as possible as well, because if you can last longer with more health, then generally speaking, that is probably better. Defense obviously helps you mitigate a lot of damage, especially against other PvP players. But this is a very good setup overall, especially because you can get hull breach with it, and obviously with Khan's ability, which is a cumulative 1% overall as well, every time the ship is hit. So the more rounds you go, the more, if you are going to go against another player, generally speaking, you're going to go quite a lot of rounds. Therefore, this 1% turns into quite a lot. So you're going to be banging crits out all the time. And if you do bang them crits out all the time, then the critical hit damage is increased by 25% for Kayla. Obviously, yours may vary depending on obviously what level officers you do have. So this is a very good setup to run. Another thing that you can do, especially when it comes to the nodes, especially when it's in PvP, for example, if you have something on a node when you are doing the territory capture, obviously you're going to want to stay on these nodes as long as possible, because you get 3 points off the node, plus obviously the 1 point of you, obviously the ship is in that system, so you do get that 1 extra point, so therefore you get 4 points altogether instead of just 1 point overall. So you can, so I would advise obviously stay on the nodes as long as possible. What you can do is you can have sacrificial ships, which is what I would do. I'd get some really fast ships, so even something like a Vidar, if you have a Rialta, that's obviously something that's beneficial as well. And then what you can do is if you take these ships out and you assign them with some really fast officers, so you can put people like Clarin as your hot pursuit, for example, things like that. So it adds in 25% extra speed. So if we put that in there for now, then obviously it takes up our actual impulse speed to 150, which is really good. And this is a good way to, if you see an enemy coming in, you can dissuade them, or you can sort of you can put them off a little bit with using other ships whilst your ship is on obviously the node. And then that will obviously, it might not win the engagement, but it might knock off a little bit of health. It might slow them down enough to be able to obviously engage them yourself if need be, and stuff like that. So there is ways around slowing the enemy down if you are within your nodes. But going back to the PvP stuff, so that's one way you can obviously slow the enemy down, or the other way obviously is just pure brute force. This is a very good setup to run, like I've said. Obviously the main thing with PvP, always try and stick to the best obviously possibilities for your category. So if this is obviously, as everyone knows, this is an interceptor, so you want to try and stick with either other interceptors, or alternatively, even better, try and stick with the battleships. Try and take out battleships as much as possible. And the same goes for explorers or battleships. If you obviously have explorer or battleships, try and stick to the triangles as much as possible. Obviously sometimes that does vary, but try and stick to the triangles as much as possible. One of the other crews I want to run through today is a bit of a different crew. It's actually Spock with him, and we want, if you have a really good one as well, so you can go with Yuki. So this is another good setup that you can run, especially if you have officers that are high level, especially Yuki if she's a high level. The only downside with Yuki is the fact that her secondary or officer ability is not very good if you're not going against obviously Romulan ships. So this can be good because obviously it's against Romulan style ships. So if you are going against obviously Romulan ships, then this can be a very good one. If you're not going against Romulans, then it's kind of not a good one in terms of their ability. That is not in terms of the setup. This is a good setup just because of this ability of the 10% each round shield. reduction that Yuki gives. I did try this out on a golden officer the other day, and my Saladin was obviously, as you know, was 1.2 million, and we ended up taking out a 2.2 million ship just with running this setup. The reason that works, it was with the battleship, which is 1.1 million at the moment, and it was running this setup. I was able to take it out just because of this because generally speaking, you're going to last a lot more rounds. Excuse me, sorry about that. You're going to last a lot more rounds, therefore, the more rounds you last, this is going to activate every single round. So it's 10% every single round. And then the reason you pair the other two up, again, is you're going for that morale hit, and then you're going for the extra shields. The longer it takes your shield to go down, the more damage you're going to be able to stay in the battle. Therefore, Yuki's ability is going to be able to work even more, and obviously the longer you can last. So that is another good setup. Another good setup other than that one, if you are going to run. These are all PvP setups. These are all really good, especially this setup's very good to use against explorers. Surprisingly, it's actually a very good one to use against explorers, because generally speaking, explorers have higher shields than the other two classes. You can run this setup, you can run obviously Zhao as well. So Zhao's ability, as long as the ship has morale, which is where you get obviously Kirk, Paul Zhao increases the shield deflection by 30%. That's just for this level. And then obviously have another one, which is Paul that increases the defense of all the officers on the bridge, which again can be quite beneficial. The reason that's beneficial and it works quite well is because of Spock's ability. So if you run him as officer, obviously Kirk's going to give you the morale boost, which activates Zhao, and then Zhao's abilities or officer ability is going to activate obviously Spock's ability even more so, because it gives a 15% from my level. That obviously will increase the higher he goes as well. But then obviously my Spock, for example, is equivalent to 400 of the defense, 400% of the defense of the officers. That's how much the shield health is restored. So obviously that helps. So especially as well if you get the bottom all packing with officer like sort of defense or health styled. So well, you want defense as high as possible. So you're going to have like bones in there, for example. You're going to have maybe not you, because why would you have you? Not you. So, but you get the point. You're going to have officers like that in roles like that. So you're going to want to go with maybe something like that. Just say. So this will be 400% of that ability will get restored. So again, this is another really good officer setup. Again, this wants to be used probably on explorers. It can be used on battleships. I wouldn't advise to use it on interceptors. I mean, you can use it on an interceptor. I wouldn't advise it. This is a good ability for explorers or battleships of the like. We will go into more detail on other PvP stuff in another video, but for now we'll leave it at that. I hope this video has been informative, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and leave your subscriptions to the channel. Don't forget to hit the bell notification, because that tells you when the video goes live. And I will see everyone next time. Bye bye for now.